Hello everyone, Hanif here with another tutorial, adding a new video after quite some time. This is a very difficult time for many families. It's not just affecting people in USA, but all over the world. I started my IT career as a manual QA. I worked as a manual QA for many years. Then I started learning automation testing along with some friends, YouTube channels, Udemy courses, and many other great online resources. After landing my first QA automation job, I worked in the QA field for about 5 years. While I was working as an automation engineer, I started working with AWS, Azure, and I knew that I wanted to work in the cloud side of the IT umbrella. So I decided to learn again. Started with online courses, individual tutoring, any resources I found. Now I work as a DevOps engineer. If you don't know what is DevOps, no worries. Perhaps I will create another video to go over it. Earlier this year, I passed my AWS Solutions Architect Associate certification. I am also a certified Scrum Master. I am still learning every day. Sharing this, so don't give up, keep moving, keep learning. If I can do it, you can do it as well. So now the question is, who is this course for? During these tough times, many people are not working. It is a good time to brush up your skills or switch your career. To me, anyone who can read, send emails, knows how to use social media should be able to get a QA job if they are serious. I have to say though, it's getting tougher for people without experience as the QA role is becoming more technical. What I mean by that, many companies now see QAs as QA engineers. QA engineers should be able to write and read code or at least make sense out of the code. Understanding of cloud technologies such as AWS, Azure, GCP, CI/CD, and so on. But don't worry, you have to start somewhere, right? This is a long video series since it's a complete training course. It is geared towards very beginners. Someone who has no prior experience in QA testing perhaps doesn't even know what is QA testing. My goal is to help people transit into professional high-paying jobs, such as people working in retail, sales, transportation, hospitality, recent grads, or anyone trying to make their and their families' lives better. I worked on many of the so-called odd jobs I mentioned. I know it's not easy. This free course is not just in theory. I don't believe in just theories. It will be very difficult to pass an interview by just passing some certifications or memorizing everything. I will have to cover some definitions as well, but I will try to break them down. I am going to go over every possible detail I can think of so you can get a job, such as hands-on labs when possible, where to find or start looking for jobs, how to create your LinkedIn profile, what is the salary expectations in USA, how to create your own resume. We'll go over some interview questions, answers, and provide tips on how to answer general questions. How to talk to recruiters when they call you, how to prepare for an initial phone virtual interview with the client, finally, how to prepare for the final interview, and many more topics. Another thing I can do for you, if you are really serious and you don't skip a single minute of this course, reach out to me, email me, or add comments below. You can show me as a reference. Again, not that you are working for me anything, but you can tell your employer or recruiting agency that you have taken my course. You know the materials and you know best QA practices. The materials you are learning here, if you become really good at it and able to say it in your interview, it's equivalent to 2-3 years of experience. Just pointing this out for your own understanding and confidence. One note though, I do not check the comments regularly, so if you add a comment here, please understand it might take me some time to respond. If you already work in any professional field or IT field but not in a technical role, you might find the first few videos boring. This course is towards a non-technical audience. My goal is not to just create videos and have a huge number of views. Rather, I want you to get a job, a career in the IT field. However, I will cover some advanced topics. You might find it beneficial when I move on to automation, interview tips, CI/CD, and so on. I will give you heads up and you can skip those sections. Most of my examples and scenarios will be based on the US job market. However, QA concepts should be similar everywhere. If you complete this entire course, you should be able to start applying for entry-level jobs. If you have some experience, that's even better. Now you can combine your prior knowledge or experience and materials learned in this course. Now, what I'm going to cover in this course, first, I'll go over introduction to QA, what is software testing, why QA testing is important. We are going to brush up on some of the basic computer skills. Then we're going to brush up on some of the Microsoft Word and Excel skills. Then I'm going to go over SDLC, also known as Software Development Lifecycle. Then I'm going to go over STLC, which is also known as Software Testing Lifecycle. I'm going to move on to bug and defect lifecycle. Then we're going to look at different bug tracking tool. We'll install Jira, download it and install. They have a free trial. Then I'm going to show you guys how to write defects and then compare other bug tracking tools. Then I'm going to go over project management tools such as version 1 Jira, Confluence, ALM, Trello. Then I'm going to go over various project management tools and look at the difference between bug management tool and project management. Then I'm going to go over different testing types, functional testing such as black box testing, GUI, end-to-end, and so on. Then also look into some non-functional testing such as white box testing, load performance testing. Then I'm going to go over different testing methodologies such as Agile and Waterfall. I'll go in depth on Agile, Scrum. Then I'm going to go over SQL and database. We're going to look at how to write your SQL queries and then look at different databases, relational databases, and also not only SQL databases. Then I'm going to go over API testing. I'll try to demonstrate some API testing using Postman. Then I will go over some of the most user famous API testing tools. Then I'm going to go over automation testing. Here we will install and set up automation testing using Selenium and Python. Then I'm going to go over various different topics. What is automation testing? Why automation testing is needed? Then we're going to run our first script. Then I'm going to go over some topics such as what is best automation tool, which programming language you should learn, and so on. Then I'm going to show you guys how to create your LinkedIn profile and give you guys some tips how to connect with other professionals and why LinkedIn is very important or crucial. Then I'm going to show you guys how to create a sample resume or CV. Resumes are very important. You need to have a powerful resume where recruiters or hiring managers, when they look at your resume, they don't throw it on the trash can. So I'm going to give you guys some tips and we'll create a sample resume. Then I'm going to move on to show you guys where you can find jobs or internships and show you guys some of the best job engines or job sites available in the market. And then we're going to move on to interview preparations, how to communicate with recruiters, hiring managers, how to prepare for initial interview with the clients, how to prepare face-to-face interview or virtual interviews, how to answer certain tricky questions in interview, and how to negotiate hourly rate or yearly salary. Then I'm going to go over some advanced topics such as CI/CD, AWS. Then I'm going to give you guys some resources where you guys can connect with me or email me. So that's our agenda. Without further ado, let's get started. What is software testing or QA testing or SQA testing? I mostly refer to it as software testing or SQA testing. I think that's more appropriate to say. QA or quality assurance overall is a process that could be for a software or quality assurance team in a factory or business where they have to check the quality of the products. I have an old video where I mostly talked about why QA testing is important. Here I will explain what software testing is all about. Software testing is famously known as QA testing. QA stands for quality assurance. Instead of giving the definition, I'm going to highlight some key points and then give the definition. Software testing is a process to identify defects or issues. Testers performs different activities using different tools to check whether the actual results match the expected results. Testers perform different activities with the intent of finding issues, defects in the software. This helps to produce high quality defect-free software when it is released to the end users. Now here is the definition. Software testing is a process to identify defects or issues where tester performs different activities using different tools to check whether the actual results match the expected results. Still not exactly sure what is QA testing? Let me break it down. I have a QA blog. Let me go there. QAdoctors.com. And the site is down. I recently noticed it that my site is down. It is not a big deal for me since it's not a mission critical application. But what if I had paid customers and they needed to access it anytime they needed? That would have been a big issue. If I had a software testing team, they would have noticed it and that would have been fixed long time back. Let's look at another site. I'm going to ufrill.com. As you can see, there is also some issues. It's saying that this connection is private. I know that this site is not harmful because I have tested this application. Click on visit this website, then it is asking you if I'm sure to visit this site. Yes. So as you can see here, so we found another issue, right? And both of these issues are big issues. So this side, they have mobile apps for iOS and Android. And as I'm showing it to you, the website that should be working on all major browsers such as Chrome, Firefox, Windows, Edge, Safari. So I'm using Safari to show it to you guys. So when developers write code, they usually test their own code, mostly on one particular browser. I mean, they do their unit testing and so on, and they don't test it rigorously, and which makes sense, right? It is not their job to test every bit of functionality. They mostly look for what is known as happy path, or think it as high-level testing. Testers look at clients' requirements, design, and make sure every bit of the application is working. For example, for this side, we have a logo here, right? And then we have a sign up button. So if you click on sign up, it should land us to the sign up page. And the look and feel of this page, clients wants it certain way. And the company who developed it, they most probably have a design team or a designer who designed it, and that was shared with the developers and QAs and basically all the team members, right? And then when testers we test, we look at that document and we try to match. Okay, so on that mock, there is a banner. The banner I'm referring to here, this white section here on top, or header you can say. So there is a logo, and exactly it will specify that, okay, in this particular location, this logo should be left side of the header. And then we have a sign up button. When you click on sign up button, it should go to the sign up page. And then this is what you're supposed to see in sign up page. Then you click on login button, and this is where you're supposed to see. So if something doesn't work, of course this site is working and it has been tested previously. So but if you find some issues, then we report it, and that's a bug. Something doesn't work, that's a bug. For this site, the issue is that the SSL certificate expired. That's why it is showing us earlier that this site is not secure. So they need to update their SSL certificate. For my blog, I'm not sure what is the issue. It is giving a 500 internal error. So as a QA, I will report it. This is a big issue because this is also known as blocker or showstopper. No one can access this page. So to wrap up, QA testing is very crucial. And many companies, they lose money, and many times it's not just about the money they're losing. Think about, there is a bug in one of the government applications, and everyone can be affected through that. Or a power company, they have a bug or issue that can have effect on millions of people. Now that you know what is software testing and what you are going to learn in this course, what is in it for you? Let's talk about money, compensation. So I'm going to go to Google and search for engineer salary in USA. So I'm in USA, so I'm going to look into the US market. But you get the idea. You can just search in your country or city, and we'll look at multiple sites. So of course Indeed.com is a very famous website for searching jobs. So as you can see here, QA engineer salaries in the United States, quality assurance engineer, so that's the average salary. So these salaries are more for mid-career QA engineers, let's say about 4 or 5 years of experience and so on. Software test engineer, automation engineer. So as you can see, this is very rewarding, right? And of course, it will will vary depend on which city you live in. Example, if you are in Seattle or California, salary is going to be higher. So if you are in somewhere in South, salary is going to be lower. But again, you have to kind of look into other factors as well, living cost and so on. So what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to search for junior QA engineer salary. Going to use the suggestion here. So if I look at to Glassdoor, Glassdoor is another really awesome website where you can actually review comments or company profiles. And this is by real people who actually leave comments and salary information. As you can see here, average junior QA engineer salary is about 54,000. So it is still rewarding, right? If you start with 50 to 60,000 as a junior QA, and this is going to keep going up as you gain more experience and work in different industry domains and so on. So it is a very rewarding career. I know many manual QA engineers, they're senior or mid-level, they make around 90,000. Where I know some senior automation engineers, they make around 110 to 120, and QA managers or lead varies by the company, they make between somewhere 130 150. It's more of like, okay, I want to learn this and I want to change my career, can I pay my bills with it, right? Yeah, do some more research, but I would suggest spend some time with it. I mean, if you follow this course alone all the way, don't skip a single second, and then you can implement in your real work. Also, I will try to demonstrate some of the open source tools so you can use it and kind of showcase your skills. Now we're going to look at organization role and responsibilities. I'm going to explain typical roles and responsibilities of team members in an IT company. The main goal here is to understand the responsibilities of QA team members. Since you have to interact with other team members and departments, you need to have better understanding of the organization chart or org chart. Let's explore the roles of a IT firm called Tech Dummies. Like any other company, Tech Dummies have a CEO, also known as Chief Executive Officer. CEO is responsible for all day-to-day management decisions and for implementing long and short-term plans. So CEO is not going to do all the work, right? CEO has a management team. Here are some common management team members. They usually directly report to the CEO. Chief Financial Officer, CFO, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, CSO, Chief Security Officer, COO, Chief Operations Officer, CPO, Chief Procurement Officer, CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, CHRO, Chief Human Resources Officer, and the list goes on. Some companies even have a Chief Learning Officer, CLO, really. But our main focus will be this guy or girl, Chief Technology Officer. CTO is responsible for technological issues within the organization. Expect this person to be highly technical. At least I would hope so. Now let's drill down to who reports to CTO and what is our main focus. So usually Director of Engineering or R&D Research and Development Manager, they report to CEO. Under them, there might be different managers or roles such as Development Lead or QA Lead, Product Owner, BA, Scrum Master, Project Manager. So our main focus is to understand QA department, right? So as you can see bottom left of the screen, there is development lead and QA lead. So under QA lead, there might be senior QAs and then automation engineers, senior automation engineer, junior QA engineer, API testers, and same goes for development lead. Senior developer will report to him, front and back end developers, junior devs, right? This is a overall overview org chart. There are many operating systems out there. An operating system manages computer hardware and software resources and provides common services for computer programs such as input devices like keyboard and mouse, output devices such as display monitors, printers, and scanners, network devices such as modems, routers, and network connections. applications. You can look more into it, but here I'm just trying to give high level overview. You don't need to become an expert on this, but it is required to have basic understanding. For our learning purposes, we can divide the OS into different categories. First, desktop and laptops. Within desktop and laptops, we have different operating systems such as Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix. Then we have mobile OS. There are numerous mobile operating systems available. Two of the most widely used are Apple, which is known as iOS, and Google's open source OS, Google Android. There are other operating systems such as BlackBerry, but these are the two most used or famous ones. Now, I want to quickly go over the difference between hardware and software. So hardware includes the parts of the computer that you actually can touch, like the keyboard, mouse, monitor, and CPU. What is a CPU? It's known as Central Processing Unit. This box is the brain of a computer system. It processes, stores, and communicates information. Wires connect your CPU to your monitor and other devices. And what is software refers to? Software refers to the programs that you use on your computer, like Microsoft Word, Notepad, or the programs that make your computer work. You physically cannot touch these. Programs are also called applications. Moving on to our next topic, Microsoft Word Excel skills. Microsoft Word or MS Word, often called as Word, is a graphical word processing program that users can type with. It is made by the computer company Microsoft. You can write, edit, share documents with others. Microsoft Excel, also developed by Microsoft. With Excel spreadsheets, you can organize, format, calculate, use graphs, charts to analyze data. If you have Microsoft Word or Excel on your computer, that's great. If not, follow along with me. I do not have Word or Excel on my Mac. I usually use Google Docs. It is similar to Word or Excel and it's free. One thing though, you need to have an Gmail account. If you don't have one, create one. It's free. So here I'm going to go to my Gmail account. I already logged in. Then click here where it says Google Apps, those dots, and click on Drive. So this is going to open up another window. So here, click on New, and I'm going to choose Google Docs. So this is similar to Microsoft Word. Cool thing about Google Docs is that it saves your changes automatically, so you don't have to continuously click on save and so on. Here I'm going to give it a name, Word Practice. So here are a few things. First, we have these tabs here: File, Edit, View, Insert, Format, Tools, Add-ons, Help, and then we have this bar. Some of the features listed under this, they're also available here. So these are basically shortcuts. So what we can do here to get started, this is our first Google Doc practice. So if I want to kind of highlight this or make it bolder, I can click on this B here. As you can see, it's bolder now. I can also use keyboard shortcuts. If you're using Windows, you can hold down the Control key and press B. For Mac, Command B, and it's back to normal styling. The next thing we can look into, by default, it's selected size 11. So if I want to increase the size to 14, I can do that. Or if I want to change my font style, right now is Arial. So if I want to change it to this particular Comic Sans, then I can do that. Also, I can zoom in and out, make it larger or smaller. I'll keep it at 100%. Here, if you want to change the style, you can do it as italic. And if you want to underline, you can use the underline tab here or icon here. If you want to change text color, you can change it. These are, if you want to align, left align or center align or right align, you can do that. I'll keep it centered for now. Here we have numbers. Here is the bullet points. If you need to make some kind of list, you can use these bullet points. Simply click here, it will do it. Or you can also choose a particular style you want. If you need a subcategory here, if you do that, so it will change it to another one. So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to go back to the File tab, and here you can open a new document. So we're already in this document. If you want to add a new document, you can add one. Just click on it and it will open up a new document. If you want to make a copy of this document itself, you can do that. Let's say if you're working on something, you can make a copy if you're sharing with somebody else, so you don't lose your changes. So you just give it a name and then OK, then it will create another copy within your Google Drive. If you want to email, you can email it as attachment. If you want to download, you can download as different formats. As you can see, Microsoft Word, even though we are using Google Docs here, you can actually convert it to .docs, and anyone has Microsoft Word installed, they can use the document. I usually use PDF even for my resume and so on, so I don't have to convert it to anything. So, but you have multiple options here. Then you can rename, there are other options, and of course, print one is most probably one of the important one. So if you want to print a document, you can do it from here. You probably have to download it actually. So when you click on print, yeah, you will have to download it, then you can print it. So it's similar to just going to download. You can just download it and then print it. Sorry about the background noise. My kids are just being kids. So going back to the tabs. So here we have undo and redo, cut, copy, paste, delete, select all. These are very important and handy commands to learn. So for example, let's say if I mistakenly deleted this and I want to actually undo it, you can just go to edit and undo, clicking this, so it just put it back. Or I can do from my keyboard. If you're using Windows, you can do Control Z. I'm using Mac, so Command Z. As you can see, it's back. You can also redo. For example, I don't want that word, so you can actually redo, or you can also use the Command Y, Control or Command Y. Here there's another option, cut. So cut is basically, let's say if you want to, you select this, you want to cut it, you do Command or Control X, it will cut it for you. I'm going to do Control Z to put it back. Or you can just come here, click on cut, and then it will cut it for you. So it's kind of handy if you want to just copy it from one place to another, and then you come here, you can edit and paste, or Control or Command V as in Victor, it will paste it for you. But you can also just simply do it by using the copy command, right? So I select it, I can copy it from here, and then if I want to paste it somewhere here, I can do that. So cut might be useful, let's say certain thing you don't want in this particular document, but you want to move it to another document, then you can use the cut command. And so we already looked at copy command. Then the paste. The paste is basically when you copy or cut something, you can edit, come to edit, and then paste, or you can just do Command or Control V, it will paste it for you. Now look at delete and select all. So if you want to delete this particular word or list, you can just come here and delete. I'm going to do Control Z, and then, or you can, on your keyboard you have a delete button. It is usually on top right side of your keyboard. So if you just press it, it will delete the content you want to delete. Now look at select all command. This is a really handy command. If I want to select this particular line, I can hold my mouse and then drag it, it will select it for me. Another shortcut you can use, go to your keyboard, hold down to the Control or Command key and press A. So Command A or Control A will select everything. Moving on to the next tab, View. Everything's pretty much selected by default here, so you can play around with it. I'm going to go to the next tab. If you want to add an image on your document, you can do it. You can do it from your computer or Google Drive or your camera and so on. So I'm just going to quickly show it to you guys how to upload something from your computer. So first you need to select where you want to place the image. So I want to have it here, photo insert, image, download from my computer. Then here, so I have this image, I'm going to select this. As you can see, it is inserted here. So that's pretty cool. So going back to the insert tab, another cool feature here is the tables. I actually use it a lot. Oops. So here, let's see if I want to insert something. Insert a table, you can select how many rows or columns you want. So here, just to play around, name, ID, score. If I want to add a column here, another column, I can simply right click and then insert a column. You can choose right or left. So let's do left. So it just inserted a new column. If I want to insert rows, same idea. You can do below or above. If you want to insert multiple rows, you can just select them and then insert. Another shortcut is to just go end of the row and then just press tab. This will insert as many rows you need. So going back to insert tab again. So drawing, I'm going to skip drawing, chart, footnotes, header and footer. You can play around with all these features. One thing we can probably look at is link. So there might be a time you want to insert a link within your document. So we looked at ufrill.com, right? So if I insert www.ufrill.com and apply, it inserted here because my cursor was here at the end, right? So if we want to do it somewhere here, we can also do that. Another way you can do is www.ufrill.com. I'm going to remove the underline and then highlight it, and then here is same thing, insert link icon here. So it also inserted a link. So you can do it from there or here, whatever is easy for you. That's pretty much for insert tab here. Then I'm gonna go to format. In format, you can also do few things we looked at earlier: bold, italic, underline, strike through. This is another, at times it could be useful. Let's say if you're taking some personal note, or you're working in a group project or something. So if you want to, let's say if you have completed something, you can just strike it like this. So that's a cool feature. Look more into it. And paragraph style, you can also play around with different headings, heading 1 2 3. Alignments, we already looked at it. They're also here. So same thing is also here. So you can play around with it. Line spacing, currently mine is set to 1.15. You can do single line, you can do 1.5 or double. This is line 2, this is line 3. So if we want to change our line spacing, if I do single, so they're kind of closer now. Sometimes it's hard to read, so you can do 1.5, might be too much space between, so I usually go with the default 1.5. And columns, you can play around with that too. Bullet and numbering, we also looked at it earlier. They're also here, numbered and bullet list here. If you're having formatting issue, many times, let's say if you copy something from the web and then the formatting is messed up, you can actually click on clear format and it kind of goes back to the default, as you can see here. Moving on to the next tab, tools. I rarely use it. Spelling and grammar might be one of the handy one. It's already selected by default. So word counts, that could be handy if you were, let's say, writing some kind of essay or you need to count. So you select what you were trying to count, word count for. So first you select what do you want to be counted for, and then click on the word count, and it kind of shows you. So that's it for the tools tab. And add-ons, there are not much here. And help, if you want to read, go through their documentation, you can. So to review, look into different tabs here and try to open a new file and try to add some content, few lines, and then do undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, select all. I would say really become good at this tab, whatever listed here, add it. That is going to save a lot of time. So that's it for Word or Google Doc practice. Next we're going to look at Excel. Now I'm going to go and look into Google Sheets. This is similar to Microsoft Spreadsheet. First, I'm going to name it my first spreadsheet. If you look at the file menu here, pretty much they're similar to Microsoft Word. Same for edit, view. There are more different options here. Freeze, you can freeze a certain row. We'll look at some of this. I insert, there are similar options, but also some different options for Excel. Format, pretty much same with additional options, and so on. These tools or tabs here. So let's do a simple, I'm not going to go over much here. I just want to give you guys, kind of pick your brain and show you guys how to work with Excel, and you guys can play around with it and get more practice on it. So here, let's see if I want to track my daily budget or monthly budget. How can I do it? So expense name, then I can say date, then I can have amount. Another cool thing is I wanted to actually show you this expense name. If I see, it's kind of cutting off, right? So in Excel, if you go over here and then double click, it will expand it for you. So in expense name, I can say, let's say gas, how much gas I had to buy. So if today's date is 15th, so 9, 15, 20, right? So amount is 35 bucks. So another thing you can do here, select all these here, or if you want to do the entire column, we go to not strike through, I'm looking for the dollar amount. So as you can see, so anything, if you insert something here, it will automatically add that dollar symbol. So which is pretty handy, so you don't have to keep converting it in every different single row. Next is food. I had to buy some food. So food, I can just copy this and food, let's say $12. I'm going to delete this. Now you want to find, let's say, today's total, right? Total, and then if you come here, just select this, hold your mouse and then select this, and then go here, functions and sum, and so it's kind of showing you it's selected C here. So this is the column name, right? C column, and then this is the row. So row number 2 and 3 and 4. So any value between this, it's going to give us the total. So that's 47, right? So this is pretty awesome, right? I mean, right now it might not make sense because we only have two values here, but think about if you have 20, 30 values, or I mean, you don't have to pull up your calculator and calculate it. So this is a pretty handy feature. And let's say if you keep adding more, you need to add more. So that's one option here. You can play around with the number. There are different functions here you can use, like if you want to average, you want to count max min. So just play around with this. It is really interesting. Few other things you can do here, of course, the font size and fonts family style, same we looked at in Word. You can also bold and italic, and then you can change the text color here if you want to. And then another cool feature would be vertical aligned, or actually text wrapping. Yeah, so let's say if I have something, so it's, as you can see, doesn't look good right here. It's kind of going over this column here. So if you come here, select this, and then go to text wrapping, and then you can wrap, so it will actually wrap it to next line, which is pretty cool because sometimes you might be writing test cases, or you need to type some description or notes, so you really don't want to go over within the cell you are in, so you can use this feature. Excel is itself, it's pretty broad. I mean, there are actually jobs, they hire people with advanced Excel skills. So freeze option. So this is, I think, this is the option I can go over. So let's say you have, right now we just have 8 lines, like 8 rows. But let's say if you have, let's say if I need to scroll down, but then I don't know which column I'm looking at. So you can actually come here, select these, and then go to freeze. Then you can say first row or 2 rows. If I select first row, so even if I go down, if I scroll down, you can see that now I can see my expense name, date, and amount. So right now we only have 3, so maybe you can remember it. But if you have multiple values, 10, 20 columns, it'll be pretty handy. Also, if you're doing a presentation or something similar you need to share with people, will save a lot of time, and it'll be easy for them to follow along. So going back to view, grid lines, of course, for Excel we need it. Without grid it'll be kind of wacky, I guess. But if you want to print, let's say if you want to print without grid, you can do it. So maybe before you printing it, you can just uncheck grid lines. And formula bar is basically, yeah, so it's right now we don't have the formula bar. So if you want the formula bar, you can have it. And insert tab, I think it's pretty similar here. So you can play around with it. Format, I'm not going to go over. Data, so here you can filter different things, sort by column, and so on. So play around with it, and going to tools, it's already by default is enabled for autocomplete, so I'm going to leave it like this. Add on. So I think that's pretty much it. Play around more, Google for some, if you're interested, learn more about Microsoft Excel and Word, or Google Sheet or Doc. Do that, play around. Now you know that there is a free tool. You don't have to buy Microsoft Word. I mean, if you have it, is good. I mean, if you want to work with Microsoft Word, that's awesome. But if you just don't have the funds to get Microsoft Word at this time, so you can play around with this. What is a bug or defect? A software bug is an error fault, issue, problem, flaw, defect, or a mistake in a computer program or system, which may cause failure from expected results. Often you will hear there are differences between bug, issue, and defect. To me, they all are same. If you really want to get to the technicality of it, I have another video. You can look into the differences. In simple terms, your client wants a page. He or she wants some features on that page. For example, a e-commerce site. Your company developers built the site. There is a button to sign up. When you were testing, you noticed that the button is not working. When you click on it, it should take you to the next page, but in this case, it is not doing anything. That's a bug or defect, whatever you want to call it. In other words, anything supposed to be working, but it's not working. A software bug could be something as a typo or a misaligned image or serious issue as we saw earlier. My site is not working and ufill.com SSL certificate expired. That's a showstopper or blocker. That needs to be fixed ASAP. Even though there are some differences between my blog and Ufill, it is still a blocker. Since many users might not know what an SSL certificate error is, they might simply think the site is not working. Hope that gives you a better understanding of what is a bug or a defect.
What is bug lifecycle, also known as defect lifecycle? It is basically the journey of the defect lifecycle when a bug is found and how that bug is tracked and how it was closed. So I'm going to explain it. I recommend everyone to really understand the bug life cycle, especially in interview. It is really important to explain the whole process, and really tester should know the defect life cycle very well. When tester find a defect or bug and logs the defect in defect tracking tool, the status is a new. Then QA lead or project manager will assign the issue to dev lead or any particular developer. In my current company, our QA lead does not assign the bugs. Our project manager does that. Again, every company has different process. There are no wrong answer here. Then it goes to open state. So in open state, the developer started analyzing and looking into the issue. If the developer thinks that this is not an issue or he or she cannot reproduce the issue, they will reject the issue. Or if it's a duplicate issue, then the issue will be closed. Or if it's deferred, then it will be closed. In some companies, actually, it happens in the assigned process. So when bug isn't new, then it goes to assigned, and project manager or QA lead will also look at. So if the bug is not rejected or if it's not a duplicate, then developer will start working on it. In progress, I just put it there for understanding purpose. So in this stage, they will work on the issue and look for a possible fix. When the issue is fixed, they will send it to QA for retesting, and QA will verify the issue. If the issue is not resolved, then it will be reopened and it will go to new status and follow the same process. And if it's fixed, then the issue will be closed. And that is bug life cycle.
Different testing types. By now, we know what is software testing. We also know what is a bug. The question is, how do we find bugs? Earlier, I showed you guys two bugs, one for my blog and other one for Ufill. Both of these issues, I found them by random testing. But when you are developing a software, you need to follow a process. Every project requirements are not the same, or the business model is not same. Example, let's say there are two blog sites. One is a traditional blog site where users can read, comment, and so on. The other blog is a video blog where all the blogs are videos. Development process will be different for both sites. Example, video blog will need to save all the videos, so they need to find a DB or database that is suitable for that, where they can save all the data. Other blog will need a DB as well, but the scope is different. Now, QA testing will be different as well. QA team need to find the most effective ways to test the application and make sure there are not any issues. That's where testing types comes in. Think of testing types as different methods of testing. Each method has its own rules or way of doing it. Example, earlier I mentioned I did some random testing. There is a testing type called exploratory testing. Exploratory testing is done when there are not any requirements or documents. Name says it all, right? You are exploring the software or application. Another example, you work in a company, you are part of the testing team. One of the developers just sent you a new build. A build is a chunk of code, or you can think it as a particular feature they worked on. They just developed a sign in button and ask the QA team to test it. That's a build. As a QA, we don't need to see the code. They will push the code to, let's say, www.qa.ufill.com environment. Going back to testing types, now you need to test the build. What kind of testing you are going to do? There are already specified requirements. For login page, there should be a username text box and a password text box, signing button, forgot password link, and so on. Here, random testing or exploratory testing is not going to work. I hope these examples will further help you to understand why we need different testing types. Now, software testing is divided into two major testing types: functional testing and non-functional testing, which are further divided into various types. Let's go step by step. What is functional testing? Functional testing is tested against the functional requirements, such as checking page is rendering correctly or as expected, images are displaying as they're supposed to. When you click on a drop-down box, it displays the list. You just signed up. If we look at ufill.com, so we have an email text box, we have a password, login button, and some other functionalities here. You can think all of these are as functional testing. Anything we can see can be tested. That's functional testing. Now, functional testing is also a type of black box testing. What is black box testing? Think it as of you don't see the internal structure of the application, or you don't mess with the code. The example I gave earlier for ufill.com. Here in this page, we do not know the different components or how it's built behind the scene. And functional testing falls under black box testing. So anything categorized as functional testing, that's also a black box testing. Some of the example of functional testing: smoke testing, system testing, unit testing, regression testing, cross-browser testing, GUI testing, positive, negative testing, and so on. Now, what is non-functional testing? It is another type of testing. You check non-functional aspects like performance, usability, security. Main goal of non-functional testing is to check the readiness of a system. Non-functional testing is equally important as functional testing. Non-functional testing makes sure that the application can take certain load or all the required security standards are met. You can do performance testing to make sure the application or a site can take certain number of users. Think of Black Friday. Many people shops online. If ufill.com has a sale on Black Friday, huge number of users might visit the site. Can the site handle that huge number of users? If not, the site might be down or it'll be very slow. So performance testing falls under non-functional testing. Under performance testing, you can do load testing to check if the site can handle certain load of users. For example, we can mimic 10,000 users logs in within 5 minutes and see how the system behaves. Some examples of non-functional testing: performance, I already mentioned; security. Within performance testing, you can do different types of testing such as load testing, stress testing. We can consider non-functional testing as white box testing. What is white box testing? It is opposite of black box testing. With white box testing, you have to know the internal structure or implementation of the system. Testing with internal knowledge of the system. Here I have already covered some of the testing types, but let's recap and go over a few other types. What is functional testing? Checks the functionality of the software. What is negative testing? You enter unexpected value and you expect an unexpected result. For example, here I can enter an invalid email address, ABC, invalid password, try to log in. So I have entered some invalid data, and then I expect it not to log in. If entering invalid username and password logs me in, then there is an issue. So that's negative testing. Vice versa, positive testing. So I can actually enter a valid username or email address and then enter a valid password, and that should log us in. I do not have a login user for here, but you can sign up and check that yourself. What is smoke testing? Smoke testing is to check the vital parts of the software, make sure it works. What is sanity testing? Checking vital parts of the software is working within the build. Confusing, right? Smoke and sanity testing is almost similar. That's why I kind of put them together. Here is an easy way to remember. Smoke testing is done on the entire system or application to make sure it's working. What would be the system testing for ufill.com? First, make sure that the site is working when you enter www.ufill.com. Second, can log in and log out. Third, new users should be able to create new account and sign in and sign out. Fourth, users should be able to pick certain service of their choice and complete the entire process until the order confirmation. Payment process confirmation of their purchase. Fifth scenario would be received a confirmation email. I'm sure we can add more scenarios to it, but just giving you guys a high level understanding. Now, example of sanity testing. Your QA team just received a build on certain module or feature. Let's say they just added a new page. You need to make sure that the page is working correctly. It doesn't end there. You will probably have to do some sort of regression testing as well. If not, the entire software, at least features around the new page. So to recap between smoke testing and sanity testing, think it more of a broader test and a smaller test. Smoke test kinda you are checking the vital parts or the main components of the software and if it's working. So what is black box testing? I've kind of covered it just to go over. Simply put, testing without internal knowledge of the system. What is white box testing? Testing with internal knowledge of the system. What integration testing? Integration testing, system testing, and end-to-end testing are kind of confusing to many. I'm going to cover integration testing first, then system testing, and then end-to-end testing. That's usually the flow in real world. What is integration testing? In integration testing, two or more modules or components are combined and tested as a group. Purpose is to make sure when you connect these two modules, they work properly. The components might work individually, but need to make sure that when you combine them, they work together correctly or as expected. Integration testing is usually done after unit testing, but from a tester's perspective, let's head back to ufill.com. So I'm going to go back to home page, scroll all the way back bottom of the page. Here you see this social media footer, right? So if we click on social media, you should go back to facebook.com. Ufill is developed by one company, Facebook is by another company. This is a simple example of integration testing. So for our scenario here, we just tested Ufill and Facebook social media integration is working properly. Another example of integration testing. Ufill offers different services. When a user checks out a product, they have to process the payment. Payment is not processed by Ufill. There are different companies such as Stripe, Authorize.net, and so on. That's another example of integration testing. Testers from Ufill need to make sure after payment processing was implemented, it is working properly. So they will need to follow a scenario where they will add some service or product to the cart, follow the flow, and make sure they were able to purchase the product. Moving on to the next testing type, system testing. System testing is to test the complete and fully integrated software product. It is done after integration testing. In integration testing, testers test the integrated components, but in system testing, testers test the entire application. System testing is done from the user's point of view, meaning how would the application work or behave in real world conditions. System testing focuses on features and functionalities, whereas end-to-end testing tests the complete flow. If I step back, for integration testing, you're making sure two or more components. So for example, let's say two components are working properly. But for system testing, those two components will be also part of system testing, but you're going to test the whole application. What is end-to-end testing? Simply put, think it as of testing from the beginning to end, checking the flow from start to end, including integrated with the external interfaces. Many applications are integrated with multiple systems outside the application's environments, such as front end, GUIs we see in front end, back end, such as databases, other integration endpoints, and so on. End-to-end testing is done after system testing. System testing focuses on features and functionalities, whereas end-to-end testing is to test the complete flow. What is regression testing? To make sure that new code changes should not have any side effects on the existing functionalities. It ensures that the old code still works once the new code changes are done. To give you an example here, if we go back to ufill.com, I'm going to go to login page. One thing I can think of is like single sign-on. Here you need to create an account and kind of log in. So with single sign-ons, like let's say if you have a Gmail account, you can actually just use your Gmail to log in, so you don't have to create another username and account for ufill. The product team decided that they will add another link below the login button. It will be single sign-on. For our scenario, let's sign in with Gmail. So if the team decides to add another button below login button here, so right here somewhere in the middle, when that is done, of course, we'll need to make sure that that button is working. First of all, the GUI part, the color matches with the design and so on. Then clicking it, it should pop up another window or some kind of pop-up. Then you select Gmail or enter your Gmail credentials, then it should log in. We need to test all that, but we also need to make sure that the login button is working and the forgot password. So immediate functionalities in this page. Most probably we'll just need to do a regression test for the entire page. So that's an example of regression testing. You just don't test the individual button in our case, but you also test the surrounding functionalities to make sure that the new code did not break anything else. So what is retesting? Many times people get confused with retesting and regression testing. So retesting is basically in a scenario where you found a bug. We saw an issue with the SSL certificate for ufill.com, right? So when they fix it, we'll test it again. That's retesting. And regression testing is, yes, you are retesting it, but you are also testing not just the SSL part, but we'll probably have to do some other testing too. Make sure that the new fix did not break anything. What is browser testing or cross-browser testing? That's basically testing in different browsers, right? So I'm using Safari. So for my Mac, I'm using Safari. Also for Mac, I have Chrome, I have Firefox. If you look at the bottom, for Windows, they're also Chrome, Firefox, IE11, if anyone is using it anymore, but at least people are using Edge. So those are all different browsers, right? Then you have mobile browsers on your mobile devices. You have Chrome, then you can also download Firefox. Then for Mac, you have Safari. You can also download different browsers there too. So that's different browsers, right? And then even for ufill. So I have just tested on Safari. If the requirement states that on Mac OS, I need to test Safari, Chrome, and Firefox. So actually, I would go to Chrome, go to ufill.com. Again, I'm seeing the issue here. So it's different from Mac, right? So I'm just going to click proceed. I know it is safe. They just need to update the SSL certificate. So here I'm going to test the same test cases I have done for Safari. I'm going to test here. Then same goes for Firefox. Then for Windows, you'll need to test it on IE, Edge, Firefox, and Chrome. For mobile devices, same goes for all. What is UAT testing? So UAT testing is user acceptance testing. So that is usually done by client or the product owner. So if you are testing an application, your team is most probably not going to test it unless some of your team members are part of the UAT testing group. So it is to just make sure that whatever you've done, it's working properly, the client is happy with the changes. That's the whole purpose here. what is mobile testing, device testing, IoT device testing, and so on, connected device testing. So I have different videos in my channel about mobile testing. Mobile testing can be broad because there, I just explained you the browser. So mobile devices, they have browser, right? You can go to Safari or Chrome, or for Android they have Android browser. But then mobile devices, they also have apps. So, and within apps, there are hybrid apps and native apps. So I'm not going to really go in detail here, but you can check out my other videos in my channel about different types of mobile testing. So mobile testing, device testing, all these IoT device testing, it is to test, make sure that the product is working. What is IoT testing? These are the devices with Internet of Things, let's say Amazon Alexa, and so on. Connected devices, these are more of our smart TVs, they're connected, or Xbox console, Roku, Apple TV, and so on. So if you're interested to learn more, check out my other videos and it will make more sense. But I just wanted to quickly cover this here.